In the depths of Kunwu Mountain, beneath layers of ancient seals and forgotten oaths, something that should never awaken began to stir. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. The steely surface. Before Han Li could discern what had transpired, Old Man Fu abruptly pointed toward the rear of the cracking stone tablet and cried out in alarm. Han Li's brows drew together. If memory served, there should have been nothing behind it. Yet Old Man Fu was not one to act without cause. Without hesitation, Han Li's figure blurred like a wisp of smoke, reappearing behind the stele in the span of a breath. What greeted his eyes made him freeze in place. From within the fractured remnants of stone, a brilliant blue crystal gleamed through several deep fissures, its radiance seeping out like imprisoned starlight. Spirit stones, Han Li murmured, blinking once uncertain whether his eyes deceived him. With a sudden flick of his fingers, more than 10 streaks of sword chi burst forth, weaving together in mid-air. In an instant, they formed a lattice of azure light that enveloped the upper half of the stele. Fragments were torn free under the relentless sharpness of the sword chi, scattering outward as a grey mist billowed into the air. It did not take long. Beneath the merciless edge of his attack, the concealed blue brilliance was laid bare. Han Li withdrew the azure radiance with another casual flick, revealing what had been hidden within a deep blue crystal slab. The crystal stood nearly a meter tall, its surface brimming with sparkling blue light. Though not yet entirely exposed, it appeared long and flat, austere and ancient. The original stone stele had merely been a thick outer shell, encasing it like a crude coffin. Bai Yaoyi's eyes gleamed as she studied it, her tone certain. It is not an ice attribute spirit stone. Despite its appearance, there is not a trace of ice spiritual chi within. There is no doubt it is not a spirit stone, Han Li agreed quietly. His gaze fell upon a section of the exposed crystal. Ancient talismanic characters wandered across its surface like living things. Such material cannot be refined into ordinary objects, and there are inscriptions carved upon it. He let out a faint breath. Magic power condensed within him, surging through his meridians. Then he reached out. An enormous hand of azure light materialized before the stele grasped the crystal slab by its upper edge and lifted. As expected, the weight was astonishing, far beyond what its size suggested. Yet Han Li had already steeled himself. Relying purely on brute magical force, he tore it free from the stone casing. The blue crystal now stood fully revealed before him, radiant and resplendent. Talismanic characters roamed across its surface, emitting a dim, ghostly glow. When Han Li's eyes swept over the inscriptions, his heart stirred violently. Outwardly, however, he remained composed. Forming an incantation gesture with his hands, he pointed at the slab. It trembled, then rapidly shrank, reducing in size until it was no larger than a half-foot brick. A gust of wind stirred, and the crystal vanished into the depths of his sleeve. Old Man Fu and Bai Yaoyi were both clearly curious. Yet seeing that Han Li had no intention of sharing, they wisely held their tongues. After a brief exchange, the three decided to continue ascending the mountain. By now they had identified the source of the faint rumblings, the summit. Concealing themselves once more, they pressed forward with caution. Naturally, Han Li had no way of knowing that the distant thunderous sounds were produced by the Ye clan cultivators. Far above, they were exerting all their strength in an attempt to shatter a formidable restriction. The distance between the two groups remained considerable, and an additional restriction lay between them like an invisible barrier. At present, the large-headed eccentric and the Ye clan's grand elder stood shoulder to shoulder, floating calmly above a massive boulder. Below them, the remaining cultivators stood within a newly established spell formation. Drawing upon its power, they directed various treasures in a relentless assault upon a colossal archway that blocked their path. The elder devil controlled a jet-black flying sword, his expression utterly devoid of emotion as he launched wave after wave of attacks. In response, the archway radiated dazzling beams of light, enduring the barrage without so much as a tremor. The structure itself appeared to be a rare and extraordinary treasure. A trace of concern flickered across the eccentric's face. Turning from the resplendent archway, he addressed the white-robed scholar beside him. "Young Third, how long before we break through the myriad cultivator gate?" The scholar's demeanor remained composed, though his voice carried a faint heaviness. "Another day, at least. It is far more troublesome than we anticipated. No wonder it once held such renown. We have already been delayed too long," the eccentric muttered darkly. "If we lent our strength, we could shorten the time by half." Despite his words, he made no move to intervene. The scholar replied evenly. "Given the presence of vicious ancient beasts such as the lion-hawk, we must remain vigilant. Better to lose a day than lack strength at a critical moment. Please be patient, seventh uncle. We still have ample time," the eccentric sighed. True enough. Even if other nascent soul cultivators move swiftly, it will take them time to locate the entrance. But with this gate consuming so much of our efforts, who knows what further restrictions await us? "Do not worry," the scholar said calmly. "Our Ye clan has long anticipated the need to break ancient restrictions. We have gathered several secret treasures specifically designed for this purpose. It is simply not yet the moment to reveal them." "I see." The eccentric's expression eased slightly. "That sets my mind at rest." The two resumed their silent vigil. Yet not long after, the eccentric suddenly stroked his nose, his expression darkening. Without a word, he flicked his finger. Several streaks of yellow sword chi shot toward a towering tree 100 meters away. The tree was cleaved apart, wood splintering in all directions. From within the shattered trunk emerged a green-furred, silver-winged monster. With a mere flex of its wings, it effortlessly deflected the incoming sword chi. Then it loosed a shrill, piercing howl. Its cold gaze swept over the Ye clan cultivators below, before settling upon the scholar and the eccentric. With a powerful flap of its wings, it took to the sky. After several blurred flashes, it seemed to merge with the wind itself and vanished. The eccentric made no move to pursue. His expression had grown grave. "Did I see correctly?" Its mastery of wind movement techniques was extraordinary. It even displayed illusory wind form, much like the legendary silver-winged night fiend. If not for the faint corpse chi clinging to its body, I would never have detected it. "Corpse chi," the scholar frowned. "I sensed nothing. Your blood chariot arts must grant sharper perception. Still, that corpse appears highly intelligent." The eccentric shook his head. "Kunwu Mountain was once hailed as a land of immortals. How have we encountered such vicious beings, the lion-hawk heavenly corpses? We are fortunate to stand together. Alone, this would be far more perilous." After a long silence, the scholar spoke softly. "It was a land of immortals in ages past. Now it is a sealed relic. Strange phenomena are hardly surprising. What truly concerns us are the divine spirit treasures. All else is secondary." A cold gleam flashed within the eccentric's eyes. "Perhaps, but that silver-winged night fiend possesses not only formidable cultivation, its intelligence may prove even more dangerous. We must guard against it carefully, or it will bring us grave harm. My thanks for the warning, seventh uncle. I will remember it." The scholar's voice turned solemn. A faint flash of light shimmered along the wall of the stone pavilion they had recently occupied. A head crowned with white hair slowly peeked inside, glancing about in a comically cautious manner. After confirming the absence of others, the figure stepped out and gently rose onto the pavilion's roof atop a large disk of light. He lifted his head, revealing a wrinkled face and narrow, cunning eyes. It was the small, mysterious old man, Xiang Zhili. "So it truly is Kunwu Mountain. Tsik. The spiritual chi here is far from ordinary. But who dares meddle with the seal? If those things were to escape, the entirety of Great Jin would face calamity. Just my luck to be nearby, pretending ignorance was hardly an option." As he surveyed his surroundings, distant explosions echoed through the air. Suddenly, he began stamping his feet in agitation, cursing loudly, his aged face flushed with anger. Just as his tirade subsided, a beautiful, gentle voice drifted through the air. Knowing the danger, yet you still entered. I must admire your courage. The moment Xiang Zhili heard the voice, his entire body turned cold as though his blood had frozen within his veins. He stammered, Senior, you have come. How strange. I have been here for countless millennia, the woman replied, her voice sweet and melodious, an almost cruel contrast to his trembling tone. In the past, the three elders gathered the strength of 10,000 cultivators to lay down the final layer of restrictions. It is not something I could tear apart alone. Otherwise, I would have departed long ago. Though panic had briefly seized him, Xiang Zhili's eyes suddenly flickered with realization. His expression steadied at once. Impossible. With the suppression of the two divine spirit treasures, no one could break free from the Nine Truths Devil Suppression formation. If Senior had truly escaped, you would have long since departed through the breach in the seal. You must have forcibly projected a mere thread of spiritual sense to frighten me away. The woman's voice remained melodious, yet a chill now threaded through it. You know of the Nine Truths Devil Suppression formation and the divine spirit treasures. Could it be that you are a descendant of the three masters of Kunwu Mountain? In truth, I am not, Xiang Zhili replied evenly, but there are still a handful in this world who know of such matters. I happen to be one of them. As he spoke, his narrow eyes swept the surroundings with meticulous caution. Every strand of spiritual sense extended to its utmost. A faint snort echoed in the air. You will find nothing. My true body remains unfreed, and I will not allow you to jeopardize my chance. Since you are already here, why not remain obediently for a few months? The instant her words fell, the air above the stone pavilion twisted, as though gripped by an invisible hand. Space warped violently, and a milky white vortex bloomed into existence, spiraling open like the maw of some ancient beast. Prismatic light cascaded downward, engulfing the small old man within its rainbow brilliance. Phantasmic air. Xiang Zhili's composure shattered. His face paled as silver light erupted from his body, his form shooting outward in a streak of radiance. Yet the rainbow vortex followed like a shadow. A terrifying suction force descended, locking him firmly in place as though heaven and earth themselves had seized his limbs. In the blink of an eye, he was swallowed whole. The vortex shrank. The pavilion roof lay empty. It was as though he had never existed. A faint, weary murmur lingered in the air. It seems I must slumber a while longer. I do hope those cultivators hasten their efforts. When next I awaken, I shall be truly free. The three masters of Kunwu will learn the price of sealing me. When that day comes, heh. Her voice trailed into a wild peal of sweet, chilling laughter that echoed like silver bells in a tomb. 7 days later, the Ye clan cultivators finally shattered the myriad cultivator gate, only to plunge headlong into a profound illusion. Formation vast and treacherous. Han Li's party fared little better. A strange and unfathomable restriction barred their way, forcing them to halt and deliberate on a method to destroy it. Beyond the seal, however, the situation had grown turbulent. Nearly 1,000 cultivators had gathered their presence, stretching across tens of kilometers. Spiritual auras clashed and intertwined like storm clouds. Among them were over a dozen nascent soul eccentrics. Most conspicuous were the 4 elders of the sacred poison sect. The remaining nascent soul cultivators were largely solitary figures drawn here by rumor and ambition. A blue-robed disciple with a crimson headscarf knelt respectfully before the sacred poison elders, delivering his report. Grand Elder, we have surveyed most of the seal and obtained a general understanding. Roughly a dozen kilometers underground, we have detected something concealed beneath an illusion formation. Our disciples skilled in such matters are dismantling it with urgency. Though the formation appears hastily arranged, its creator possessed extraordinary skill. It will require time. The middle-aged man, whose face bore green markings, exhaled slowly. At least we have located the entrance. Had we remained here for days without finding it, that would have been troublesome indeed. Still, you must remain vigilant. Do not allow others to discover your progress. Return at once when the formation is dissolved. Yes, Grand Elder. With a deep bow, the disciple withdrew an earth movement talisman. Yellow light flared and he sank into the ground. Another sacred poison elder spoke with confidence. Senior Marshal Brother Hua, there are no late nascent soul cultivators in Nanjiang. Even if other sects arrive, they pose no threat to us. Grand Elder Hua's gaze darkened. That may be true for now, but the longer we delay, the more high-grade cultivators will gather. Many sects rival our strength. If they converge in force, complications will arise. And do not forget the 10 great sects of the righteous and devilish Tao will eventually intervene. Some elders looked uneasy, others dismissed the concern. Suddenly Elder Hua let out a startled cry, his head snapping upward. The others followed his gaze. On the horizon, a grey cloud surged forward at terrifying speed, its oppressive spiritual pressure rolling ahead like a tidal wave. In mere breaths it arrived above the lake, then exploded apart with a violent rupture. From the dissipating haze emerged 5 white silhouettes, suspended motionlessly in the air, indistinct and ghost-like. The unbreakable Cinque Devils. Elder Hua's face stiffened. The incarnations of old Devil Qian of the Yin sifting sect. Another elder exclaimed, his complexion draining of color. Hana snorted softly. Who else cultivates such a sinister art? His true body may inhabit any of the 5 incarnations. Unless all 5 are destroyed simultaneously, he is practically immortal. A strange shifting voice echoed from the heavens, each word seeming to arise from a different direction. I was wondering who possessed such insight into my techniques. So it is fellow Taoist Hua of the Sacred Poison sect. I did not expect your sect to act with such vigor. Could it be? You know what lies sealed here? Hama forced a laugh, though tension lined his eyes. Brother Qian jests. How could we know such matters? Our sect merely happens to be nearby, so I came to investigate. But what brings the esteemed Grand Elder of the Yin Sifting sect to Nanjiang? A low, eerie chuckle resounded. The closest sect should be the Immortal Form sect number. Has your territory shifted? As for me, I happen to be in Nanjiang handling minor affairs. I merely stumbled upon this gathering. Indeed, it is rare for someone of Brother Qian's stature to leave his sect. May I ask what urgent matter required your personal attention? Nothing significant. A few traitors fled in this direction. I was simply resolving the issue quietly. Ah, I see. Then I have been overly suspicious. Silence fell. The air grew thick, oppressive. Then I found it. An opening to the north. The Sacred Poison sect is breaking through the entrance even now. A figure burst from the lakeside shouting as he fled into the distance. The cry startled all present. Blue-robed Sacred Poison disciples immediately gave chase, fury blazing in their eyes. Yet the man's movement technique was extraordinary. He vanished like a streak of wind. The Sacred Poison elder's expressions turned grim. Old Devil Qian's laughter boomed across the sky. So that is the case. I have some understanding of formations myself. I shall lend a hand. His Cinque Devils descended in 5 streaks of white light, plunging beneath the lake and disappearing. Quickly, Hana barked. Old Devil Qian is ruthless. We cannot allow him to harm our disciples. With a flick of his wrist, he produced a small yellow flag. A tremor ran through it, and a billowing yellow cloud enveloped the Sacred Poison sect members, dragging them underground in an instant. Others followed suit. In the span of a breath, nearly half the cultivators burrowed below. Only low-grade disciples remained, lacking the means to traverse the earth. More than 10 kilometers north and 3 kilometers deep underground lay a vast pitch-black cavern. Balls of radiant light flickered through the darkness like wandering stars. Below hovered an unimaginably thick barrier of white light, layered with arcs of violent lightning that crackled endlessly. Any who approached too closely were struck without warning. The fortunate managed to evade. The less fortunate saw their protective treasures flicker and falter, forced to retreat. Yet all eyes were fixed upon a section of the barrier where lightning did not strike. 8 Sacred Poison disciples guarded that narrow gap, faces grim standing in opposition to the growing crowd. Curses rained down upon them, yet none dared act. The sacred poison sect's reputation in Nanjiang was formidable. Most present were locals. They did not dare provoke disaster. Of course, not all feared such names. A streak of crimson tore through the darkness. "Out of my way. I am entering." An old man emerged, voice brimming with arrogance. Recognizing the aura of a nascent soul cultivator, one disciple forced himself forward. "Senior, our sect discovered this first. Our martial uncles are nearby. Senior should." The old man let out a cold laugh. "Even if Hua Tianqi himself stood here, I would still enter." He raised his hand. Blinding red light erupted from his palm, illuminating the cavern like a rising blood sun. "Is that so? I wonder what offense my disciples have given you, Brother Zhang Wei. Might you allow me to handle their punishment instead?" Before the crimson-cloaked cultivator could act, an indifferent voice drifted through the cavern, cool and steady as still water. Immediately afterward, streaks of multicolored light tore across the darkness. In the span of a breath, the 4 sacred poison sect elders descended, their auras pressing outward like an unseen tide. The one who had spoken stood directly before the red-lit silhouette. To everyone's astonishment, the domineering cultivator from before suddenly broke into a chuckle. So Brother Hua truly was present. "It seems I have been remiss in my manners." His tone turned light, almost genial. "I was merely jesting with your sect's disciples. How could I truly bully them?" His earlier arrogance vanished as though swept away by the wind. A burst of wild laughter erupted nearby. In a flash of brilliant light, 5 pale silhouettes appeared, silent, indistinct, yet brimming with an ominous presence. "So it is fellow Taoist, Zheng Wei, the illustrious Master Scatterwind," came a sharp, echoing voice. "Now that I see you in person, your reputation is indeed well-deserved. The unbreakable Cinque Devils. So it is Brother Qian of the Yin-sifting sect." The crimson-shrouded cultivator exclaimed, unable to conceal his alarm. "You flatter me," Brother Zheng. Old Devil Qian cackled. "Your notoriety is hardly inferior to my own." The words were no exaggeration. Master Scatterwind was infamous throughout the Great Jin, but not for any noble deed. He was known as a shameless deceiver, slippery as smoke and treacherous beyond measure. When confronting the weak, he behaved like a maddened fiend, exploiting them without mercy. Naturally, such conduct earned him countless enemies. Even several nascent soul cultivators bore grudges against him. Yet he remained at large. Though only an early nascent soul vagrant cultivator who had ascended by means of a rather ordinary technique, he had once stumbled upon an ancient grand treasure, the world-flying boots. When fully activated, they allowed him to flee even from late nascent soul cultivators. Later, he cultivated numerous peculiar secret arts focused solely on survival. He carefully avoided provoking those at the mid and late nascent soul stages. Thus, despite his infamy, he roamed the Great Jin freely, an enduring thorn none could quite remove. Grand Elder Hua Tianqi of the Sacred Poison Sect regarded him with thinly veiled disdain. Old Devil Qian, however, seemed intrigued. Under the gaze of the Yin-sifting sect's Grand Elder Master, Scatterwind's earlier boldness withered. He smiled awkwardly, inching backward like a mouse confronted by a cat. Observing his meek retreat, Old Devil Qian lost interest and turned to Hua Tianqi with a strangely cheerful tone. "Brother Hua, could it be that your sect intends to guard this place and bar outsiders from entering?" Hua Tianqi paused, green markings along his face, faintly shifting before replying with a measured voice. "Brother Qian must be jesting. Our sacred poison sect would not dare obstruct you or any other sect. We merely intended to dissolve the formation covering this region to ensure that no fellow Taoist falls prey to its malice upon entering." Old Devil Qian gave a cold chuckle. "My apologies. It seems I misunderstood your sect's benevolence. Still, this trifling illusion formation is of no consequence to me. Might I proceed at once?" As he spoke, the 5 white silhouettes drifted forward, their presence chilling the air. Hua Tianqi answered swiftly, "If Brother Qian can pass, I will not hinder you." With a flick of his sleeve, he signaled his disciples to step aside. Though confusion flickered across their faces, the sacred poison cultivators trusted their grand elder. The core formation disciples obediently withdrew. "Then I shall go ahead." Old Devil Qian let out a thunderous discordant laugh. His Cinque devils shot forward as streaks of ghostly light plunging into the white barrier. Blue radiance flared briefly. Then the colorless silhouettes vanished into the void. When the barrier's brilliance subsided once more, Hua Tianqi turned slowly toward the surrounding cultivators. The green patterns on his face writhed faintly as he spoke in a low voice. "If any of you wish to follow, I will not stop you." His declaration stunned the previously aggressive crowd. Even the cunning master Scatterwind melted into the throng, no longer daring to be first. Moments ago they had seethed with resentment at the sacred poison sect's monopoly. But now a late nascent soul monster had already entered. Who would dare rush in? If old Devil Qian turned hostile within the formation, none of them could defend themselves. Seeing that no one stepped forward, Hua Tianqi sneered faintly. He lost interest in them entirely and turned to his disciples. "You need not guard this place any longer. Return to the surface. The other elders and I will enter first." "Yes, Grand Elder." The 8 core formation disciples bowed deeply and tunneled upward. With a shout, the 4 sacred poison sect elders followed old Devil Qian into the illusion formation, vanishing without trace. An uproar erupted immediately afterward. Most present were unaffiliated cultivators, at best gathered in small groups of 2 or 3 core formation experts. None possessed the strength to advance confidently. The lone nascent soul cultivators wore contemplative expressions. Now that the entrance stood open, the situation had grown awkward. Master Scatterwind's eyes darted through the crowd until they settled upon a burly man. "Fellow Taoist, how about we enter together?" "Together." The large nascent soul cultivator rolled his eyes. "Please excuse my refusal. Still, it is a pleasure to meet someone of your grand reputation." The sarcasm was unmistakable. Scatterwind merely smiled as though oblivious. "No need to be distant. Besides the 2 of us, there are at least 3 other vagrant nascent soul cultivators here. If the 5 of us join forces, what would we have to fear from those already inside?" The large man hesitated. The proposal was tempting, but Scatterwind's reputation weighed heavily. "How about you gather the others first?" He snorted, then asked me again. "Very well. They will surely agree." Slapping his chest confidently, Scatterwind flew toward an old man cloaked in purple light, leaving the large cultivator staring in disbelief. Before the purple-robed elder could speak, Scatterwind beamed. "Fellow Taoist, would you care to join us? I've already reached an understanding with another. We require only 3 more." The old man frowned, casting a cold glance at him before shifting his gaze toward the burly cultivator. Their eyes met. Understanding dawned. A faint smile curved the old man's lips. Soon after, 5 previously unacquainted vagrant nascent soul cultivators entered the illusion formation together and vanished. Han Li's eyes glowed with a deep azure light as he surveyed his surroundings. He stood suspended within an illusory expanse. Multicolored clouds drifted endlessly around him, luminous yet intangible. Beyond them nothing. No ground, no sky, no direction. "This wretched place is far too strange," Han Li muttered, a faint sourness in his expression. "I cannot fly out nor detect any restriction. It does not resemble an illusion formation. Could I truly be trapped here?" Several days earlier, their group had discovered a massive boulder beside the stairway, upon which grew a rare medicinal herb of considerable value. Old Man Fu, unable to restrain his eagerness, had reached out to pluck it. In that instant, the world had flashed. Light erupted, and Han Li found himself alone in this boundless, clouded realm. Bai Yao Yi and Old Man Fu were nowhere to be seen. Though not a grandmaster of formations, Han Li had studied numerous ancient and bizarre arrays. At first, he had not been overly concerned. That confidence had not lasted long. No matter how far he flew, the scenery remained identical. He had activated his bright sight spirit eyes to their fullest extent, yet discerned nothing. He had unleashed his treasures as well, testing the void with powerful strikes. The attack streaked into the distance, traveling impossibly far, before fading as though swallowed by infinity itself. There was no visible boundary to shatter. After days of fruitless wandering, Han Li finally ceased his attempts. He closed his eyes and entered meditation. Ancient formations he had once studied surfaced within his mind one after another, as he searched for anything remotely similar to this confounding space. Time drifted by in silence. He remained motionless, suspended amid the glowing clouds. At last, his eyes opened slowly. Azure light flickered within them as he gazed at the radiant mist. An unusual expression crossed his face. He clicked his tongue softly. So that's how it is. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.